Welcome back to the Jaguar rebuild video. Finally got some parts in so we can go ahead and try to get this thing mobile again. We've got some suspension parts, got a new wheel, got some tires put on, so we can go ahead and start doing some work on this thing finally. I can go through and show you guys what we've got, and then we can start taking this thing apart. So we've got our eBay haul here, do a bit of unboxing. Most of the stuff I've already took out of the boxes, but you can see we've got a new axle here, got a new shock absorber, got a complete unit. I priced all this stuff out from Jaguar, and for the shock absorber they sold everything separately, and it added up to like over, I believe, like $1,500 for just the shock assembly, which I think my shock was okay for the most part, but it's hard to say. So I just elected to go ahead and replace the whole thing as opposed to trying to piece it together, because I could have potentially maybe just replaced the bottom fork, but it's so hard to tell if anything else is bent. You're better off replacing the whole thing. Same thing goes for the spindle and the lower control arms. Like, this control arm doesn't look like it's bent, but for the price, I think the replacement, I paid like 80 bucks for it, so I figured might as well just replace everything. The only thing I didn't get was the tie rod, which I'm hoping is okay, but we'll find out once we start taking this thing apart. So you can see here we've got a new spindle with a hub attached to it. We've got an upper control arm, we've got the two lower control arms, then we've got a fender. I could only find a white one, but there's going to be other paint work happening on the car anyway, so it's not a big deal to get that painted. Then we've got this frame reinforcement piece that goes into the frame there, and this is the old wheel. I took it into the wheel repair place and they quoted me like $600 to fix this thing, and they couldn't even guarantee that it would be fixed. So I was able to find another wheel. I paid a little more for it, but at least I'm confident that this one will be straight. So I took them in. I had two replacement tires put on them, and they balanced out just fine. The only thing is the replacement wheel that I've got, these carbon fiber accents, they got some scuffs on them, which isn't a big deal. I can just take the ones off of my old wheel. And I had them transfer the TPMS sensor onto this wheel because it's already programmed to the car, so hopefully that one's okay and it responds again. But if it's not, then I have the other one that came with the wheel. I'll just have to reprogram it. Other parts we got was I was able to find a whole new washer tank, which I don't really need a whole new one, but I priced out just the pump because the pump is broken. I priced this out from Jaguar and it was $150 for the pump, and I was able to get the whole tank with two pumps for 50 bucks on eBay. So I just did that. Here from Jag, we've got one new tie rod. Oh, sorry, this isn't the tie rod. This is the connecting rod for the sway bar, because this one's ripped out. So we've got that. We've got, I have no idea what that is, some bolts, I believe. We've got some plugs for the wheel well liner. We've got an airbag. I was actually able to get this off eBay as well. I think I paid about 300 bucks for it, and it was about 1,000 from Jaguar. And then we've got a new wheel well liner straight from Jaguar. This actually was pretty reasonable. It was only 120 bucks or something like that. So today I want to take all the suspension off, try to get all the new stuff fitted on. My biggest obstacle, I think, is going to be getting that old broken axle out. You can see it's all in pieces there, and I think it goes through the oil pan. I don't know if the diff is on the other side, because you can see the replacement one, it has this long rod that's, I'm assuming, connects to the diff on the other side of the engine. So that'll be fun trying to get that out. Otherwise it should be pretty straightforward. So for now I want to get everything unbolted, get the caliper off, get the rotor off, and then we can take everything else off. It should go pretty straightforward. The only thing I still need to get, I need to go find some larger rivets like this for that frame end piece. For the washer tank, I might just go ahead and replace the whole thing. I don't think this one's damaged. It's got a little bit of a dent in it, so, but I mean, I already have a whole new one, so I might as well just put that in. And then everything else should bolt right up. The bumper I have over at the body shop, they're trying to figure out if they can fix it or not. When I originally showed them some photos, they were pretty confident that they could fix it. But now that they've got it there, they're not so confident anymore. So we'll find out. I hope they can fix it because I haven't really been able to find another one. A new one from Jaguar is like $3,700. So I'm looking every day almost on eBay and everywhere else to try to find a used one. But they're not that easy to come by. It seems that most of these cars, when they get crashed from the front. So the bumpers are always destroyed. There's lots of rear bumpers around, but no front ones. So we'll keep looking, but for now, let's get the suspension on and maybe get this thing drivable. Okay, so we'll start by trying to unplug all this stuff here that we've got, all the wiring. Get all the sensors unplugged. That way, once we actually start removing parts, we don't break anything. There's also this right height sensor over here that I'm hoping is not damaged. It doesn't look damaged, but I didn't get a replacement one, so we'll find out if that's the case. This is our speed sensor wiring. Unplug that. I believe my new hub came with a speed sensor. And then all we have is the brake line, which I'm not going to disconnect. I'll just unbolt the caliper. Looks like a two-piece caliper deal. Surprised they don't actually use one-piece Brembo calipers on these like they do on the Range Rovers. So I was trying to unbolt the caliper from the bracket, but then I have no idea what size. I think it's an Allen bolt in there that I can't seem to find the right size. So we'll just go ahead and take the entire bracket off the spindle here. Looks like it's a 15 mil. Probably gonna have to break it by hand, and then hopefully it's not too tight on there. Keep this out of the way somewhere. While we take everything else off. It shouldn't fall, hopefully. Looks like they've got some kind of spiral washers holding these rotors on. Wonder if I can rotate them off somehow. I think if I bend the tabs out, it should come off. Hopefully. So here I've got the lock washers off the studs that hold the rotors in place, and then I try to beat the rotor off with the mallet, and clearly it's stuck on there. I try to do my best to get the rotor off, but it's kind of rusty on there. So usually when that happens, you want to get a bit of heat on there and try to warm it up, and then hopefully it comes off after that. So just need to get my torch and warm it up. Let's give that a try. There we go. A little bit of heat solves everything. So that's off now. We'll try get the tie rod off. All these have fittings inside them, so you can put a, looks like a, either an Allen or a hex key, so the ball joint itself doesn't rotate as you're trying to loosen it. This one appears to be an Allen key. So here I started working on trying to figure out the right hex key to get into the top of the tie rod so that I could hold it in place and then get the nut off that secures it. And obviously it was pretty tight on there. I tried to do it without the Allen key in place, but it would just start rotating. But that was at least good because then you knew it wasn't seized in place. So after getting the right size Allen in there, I was able to finally hold it in place and then start getting the lock nut off. Slowly but surely it came off. It was pretty tight on there, but I was able to get it and get the tie rod to come loose. This was all Loctited on too. Find a bungee. Hang this thing up somewhere. But at least when it's tie rod popped right out, so I guess it's good when it does rotate, means it's not seized.
What I'm going to do is keep attaching weights to this caliper until the line bursts. 20 pounds? That's just a joke. We got a 10-pound weight and a 25-pound weight. So that's 35 pounds. Let's go. 50 pounds. 70 pounds. Okay, so we got 70 on there. We got 80, 90, 100 pounds. 100 pounds hanging off of this. 120. This is another 30 pounds. So this thing is at least like 60 pounds for sure. This thing is like 30 pounds for sure. Hyundai. They can't make an engine, but buddy, they can make a brake line. We got weights, a transfer case, rotors, 2 wheels, big ass stump. This is so much science. This is definitely at least 300 pounds on there now. And there she goes.
Okay, so now with the caliper hanging out of the way, we can continue doing what we were doing. So this can stay. We need this nut because I don't think the new tie rod came with it. So we'll try to get that off without it spinning too much. I don't know if this thing was maybe savable. It looks like it just popped out of its socket. But a new one was only like 40 bucks or something, so not a big deal. Put that off to the side. Oh, this bolt looks bent, so I'm gonna need a new bolt. 'Cause I don't think my parts came with new bolts, which is something I don't get. Like the auto wreckers, why don't they just include all the bolts when they sell these parts? Because it's not like they're ever gonna use them again. Yeah, I didn't notice that that bolt was bent. It's not even going to want to turn. It is what it is. Let's try to get this one out. It's also spinning. That's not ideal. Thing's stripping off. Maybe we'll just take the control arm, the broken side off. It's the only thing that's holding it, but we do need this nut. Actually, no, the new one came with a nut, so that's convenient. There's a clip here holding the whole thing in place, but we can just move that out of the way. Now it's time to try to get to the bolts for the upper control arm. They're just on the side of the shock tower, and they're a little tough to get into. All you can get in there is a regular ratcheting wrench. You can't get a socket in there at all. And the one towards the front of the car, it's a little easier to get at. The one towards the back, it's kind of wedged in between the shock tower and where the air box is for the HVAC system. So that one was a bit tougher to get to, but I was able to sneak a wrench in there and slowly get it out. But it took some time, took some doing. And then after I was able to get that bolt out, I was able to get the 3 bolts that hold the shock in place and the whole assembly that was then able to come down. Now I just need to get this piece of the control arm out. What's left of the shock needs to come out. And I guess we'll just leave this control arm bolted on with this bent bolt. And then we'll figure out a replacement bolt for this thing. Obviously it's going to need an alignment after and all that. The subframe looks like it's all in the same place. Doesn't look like anything's bent, so that's good. And this tie rod, it's hard to say. Also looks okay, but we'll find out. Won't really know until this thing goes for alignment if anything else is bent, but we can hope it's all okay. So we're gonna need this bottom bolt for the shock, because I don't think the shock, actually no, the shock came with a lower bolt, it looks like. So we can just leave that attached. We'll unbolt this control arm, unbolt this control arm, and this whole thing should drop out. Everything's covered in grease too, so not easy to see. It does look like this plastic under tray has to come off to get this bolt out, but I need to take it off anyway because I think it's the only way I'm going to see how to get the axle out. So we'll do that next, is get all that plastic under tray off, and then we can finish taking the rest of this broken suspension out. Okay, so with the under tray off, I was able to get the other bolt out. Looks like there's a washer here, the one used for alignment. So we'll take that out. Hopefully not lose it. Now this whole contraption should come off. There we go. So the biggest concern is the subframe here. And next biggest concern is how this axle comes out. Subframe looks okay. I just need to wipe all the grease off of it. Looks like there's another piece of axle stuck in there. The steering rack doesn't appear to be damaged. It's an electric steering rack. The tie rod appears okay, like I said. And the only thing left is to take this sway bar end link off, and the piece of broken upper control arm that's still stuck up there. And after that, we should be okay. The only other thing I'm concerned about is there is a wiring harness up here, and I think it might have gotten squished by the wheel when it went up and hit up here, because there are a few wires in here that look like they may be pinched. So I kind of want to take this apart and make sure none of the wires are actually damaged, because the car did have a CAN communication code for some module, and these wires are all twisted like CAN wires would be. So if one of these wires is pinched, it'll throw a CAN code if it's not getting a signal. So we'll just go through and make sure nothing's damaged there. And what we might do is hook up the scan tool and try to clear the code and wiggle these wires around and see if the code clears or not, because that's last time I had this scan tool hooked up, I tried clearing the code and the code wouldn't clear. So obviously there's still an issue wherever it is. But I don't really see any other damage anywhere else, so it should be all fine. And the shock tower looks okay. It doesn't appear to be damaged. Just a little nick on it here where I guess the control arm probably hit it. But luckily it's not damaged, because that would be a whole can of worms trying to replace the shock tower. So we'll just leave that alone and move on to try to get the axle out. I think that's going to be our next obstacle. Okay, so I was able to get under there and actually just give it the back of the axle, or what's left of it, a tap with my, I just stuck my pry bar in there and gave it a tap with a hammer, and I was able to get it to break free. So this is what's left of our axle. So now we can see the seal and stuff where it goes through appears to be okay. And so I'm assuming that's all gear oil that's in there. So now we can just clean up the subframe here. Then we should be able to slide our new one in. I think we can probably start with the axle and then we'll get everything else on. And then we still need to get the remaining piece of the upper control arm off. So we've got our new to us axle here. We'll get it back in there. Get the splines engaged and give it a tap. I think she's in. Seems to be turning, yep. Okay. Don't really like to leave it hanging because I don't want it to separate inside one of the boots, but it seems to be okay. So we can start working on getting this stuff together. I just cleaned up some of the hardware, transferred over a plastic piece. So this is the one that came on the control arm. It's actually, it says SVR on it. And this is the one that I had. So this one's a bit beat up and damaged. So I just transferred mine over because this one's still okay. So we can put this in. Pretty straightforward. This bolt's fairly clean. What I should do is probably put some never sees on these bolts, make whoever's life in the future taking this thing apart a bit easier. So I grabbed some anti-seize. They cleaned up all the bolts and everything. I like putting this stuff on suspension components. Just makes things easier to come apart in the future if they ever need to. And I actually called Land Rover. They were still open, luckily, and apparently they have this bolt in stock. So my girlfriend's going down there now, and hopefully it's the right one. So I got a new bolt and a new nut from them, and we'll see what we end up with. So now next we can take this little sticker off that they put on. And put this control arm on. Oh, I forgot a little bit of anti-seize. I don't know why that bolt's so long. It really does not need to be that long. But what do I know? Now I probably should have marked where the alignment was on this thing, but from it taking such a hit, it's hard to say if it was still any good at all. I think what I'll do is I'll just put the wheels on and just measure them, kind of get them as close as I can. Obviously won't be perfect, but hopefully it'll be close enough to where it can go down the road. I have no idea why they made this bolt so long. Maybe it's used on other cars that have a thicker mounting point or something. Who knows? Okay. Now we'll put this little thing on for our right height sensor. It's a little bit too much of never sees there. Oh, are you telling me the old one snapped off in there? No. Yep, what a pain. Now I gotta drill it out. Great. Okay, well that adds to my list of drill this out. At least it goes all the way through, so hopefully it shouldn't be too hard to drill out. Well, I'll get back with you guys once I get this thing drilled out. All right, and we're back. Went and picked up a bolt, some washers. The one that came from Land Rover was not correct. It was a completely wrong bolt. And also got this broken piece out. Luckily, when I started drilling it, it just threaded out on its own, so that helped us out, not having to drill it and worry about screwing up the threads. So now we'll get this piece back in there, tighten it up, and it'll be good to go. Then we can hopefully finish putting it back together, as long as we don't run into any other weird issues. Okay. Now these two can go together, hopefully. I think we need to twist that bushing a little bit. I don't know how stiff it is in there. Try it with the bolt that we got here. Oh, yeah, there we go. So these two are supposed to go together. Something like so. So this isn't an OEM bolt, but it is a grade 8.8, which is, I'm pretty sure, what they use. And at least I've got a new OEM nut, so that's got to count for something, right? All right, so we got that. I'm not going to tighten anything until the car is under its own weight. Let's get this sway bar end link out. Shouldn't have unraveled this tape around these wires, but it's okay. So we'll get that out of the way, and then I'm assuming this is an 18 mil. Yep. Okay. Got that out of the way. Try to keep track of all these bolts and nuts so we don't lose anything. All right, let's get the upper control arm in. I may need to move the coolant tank out of the way. I managed to undo the nut. I just don't know if I'll be able to get the new one back on there. I might try with my magnet and see how it goes. So we'll put this guy in. And thankfully it seems to fit. So that means the shock tower should not be bent. That's the idea anyway. Let's give it a little left tap. All right. So we obviously want it over the axle. Let me just double check something. So we can get it over this bushing. Try. Let's get a couple nuts started here. Okay, no, I won't fall out. Okay. Now this bolt, I can try and get it lined up here. No idea what the torque spec is on any of this stuff. I don't think I should tighten this one up either until there's weight on in the car. Okay, so we've got all our salvaged hardware, and we can go ahead and get this thing in its home. I think we'll line up the axle first. Slide that in. And we can slide that in. Sure. Yeah, our axle's in. Get her nut on. Get her nut on. Okay. Can get our upper control arm in. Okay. And our tie rod. shock bolt is a little concerning because the tie rod's right in the way of it. So we'll see what happens there. Let's tighten this top one up. So that should be good there. I wonder if our end link will line up. It's the same on both ends. That's pretty close. Okay, so now should be able to tighten up our axle bolt. No idea what the spec is on that. We'll assume that's tight. Don't think that's coming off. We've got our wiring harness for our speed sensor. It just goes there. Plugs in nicely. To get my air and blow all these rocks out. I don't know if it's from when the thing got into an accident or what happened. There's a bunch of little rocks everywhere. So we'll leave that for now. Okay, so we've got our shock bolts are tight. The bottom one's not tight. The top, the control arm's not tight, and these control arms are not tight either. And that's fine. So try to get all these rocks out of here. I don't know what goes here. That might be part of the inner wheel well. That is no longer there. But it kind of looks like we might be able to put the rotor back on. I'm curious what bolts they are holding the caliper to the bracket, because I couldn't. Yeah, it's an Allen. Weird. I couldn't find the right one. Okay. That's on. All right, now speed sensor. It's supposed to clip onto the brake line here, I'm assuming. Let's see where all these clips are. One goes here. I don't see any other clip. So it should be good like that. And that goes in there like that. All right, speed sensor is plugged in. That's on. Okay. Maybe now let's put this piece in place. I just need to get that rivet out. plus replace the washer tank. We'll just assume that's good. I did hear a click, so we'll leave it at that. Okay, now this rivet, we need to cut off somehow. I need to try to save this head so I can match them up, because we do need to get a couple matching rivets. And then the other hole looks like it's a little pulled out, so we'll give that a tap. Wasn't so bad. So now we'll need to take this to the store and get a couple matching rivets. But in the meantime, I can put this thing back in. I don't know what it's called or what the purpose of it is, but it's there. Oh, we'll get a couple rivets in there, it'll be good. Okay, so now pretty much I think we can leave these wires alone for now. I kind of want to just get a wheel on there and see how we're looking. There we go. All right. Okay, so just like that, the car is on all four wheels. Got it off the jack stands, put it on these ramps. So now I can get under the car, tighten up the bolts, can tighten up these upper shock mount bolts that you can't really see in there. And there's one on this side, and then you've got one over there. It's impossible to see or get to, but we'll tighten those up and tighten the bottom ones up and maybe even take it for a spin. See how bad this alignment is. I don't know if that's brakes. Something you can hear something, but hard to say. Could be anything. I don't know how you turn these lights on. All right, why don't we go for a spin? All right, so first spin here. We'll see how it goes on the road. Seatbelt's gonna beep because I don't have a seatbelt. The alignment's terrible. But I mean, it goes down the road, so that's something. Here, something sounds like almost a wheel bearing or something, but it could be just rusty brakes. And this is just on regular mode. We can put it into sport mode. See if it'll open the exhaust. There we go. Get a little bit of noise out of it. But I mean, it goes down the road. And the alignment's actually not too bad. I mean, should probably turn around and go back. Power steering works. Something doesn't sound great. I think we're dragging something on the ground. Something on the front might be loose. Obviously there's no bumper or anything on it, so we'll probably slow down a bit. But yeah, it seems to work fine. Let's see what this exhaust sounds like. Oh yeah, the good old popcorn tune. But yeah, overall not bad. Doesn't seem to have anything horribly wrong with it. It turns, goes forward and backwards. It's a pretty good first drive.